Hello and welcome to Around the Block, the supporters podcast of the Western Sydney Wanderers. I'm your host, Tatiana Sharba, and today I am joined by my friends Nick.
How do?
And Stephen.
Hello. I thought Nick was muted.
Hi, gentlemen.
No, don't be
Yeah, I was
silly.
like, oh no, not again. How are we?
I'm very good, thank you very much. I finished all of Cobra Kai thus far. Now apparently we have to wait for a whole year for season 4 to come out, and there's a big cliffhanger. And I just started watching more serial killer docos on Netflix, so I'm back to normal.
Everything's back to normal. Stephen?
Yeah, that's a problem, Nick, when you start binging shows, mate, when they're not finished.
Worst.
then you catch up. And then you have to wait like everyone else.
Worst. It is what it is.
So that means I'll just wait until it's all fully done and then I'll just catch up for the whole thing. That's what I said about Game of Thrones and I never did it.
Same.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
No, because then everyone said it ended shit, don't do it. I'm like, oh, fine.
Yes.
Anyway, look, we have...
I'll get that point.
You get that? All right. We have so much to talk about because we are playing like a game every second day now. That's how the A-League is working. So let's get into it. But before we do that, let's look at some A-League news. Nick, I believe you were upset about us teaming up with Fortnite.
Not really. I just saw a lot of backlash online for Fortnite, and even Tommy, the guy you wish you were, said apparently A-League is postponed for the next 2 weeks, and everyone was actually thinking like, "What is this legit? Where did this come from?" And he said, "Oh, Sydney FC and Western Sydney Wanderers tweeted something about it," and I thought I was taking the piss because of Fortnite, because apparently it's happening for the next couple of weeks, where you've got custom skins to play online, and for those that don't know, it's a very cartoonish version of Call of Duty. It is a sort of like a battleground type of game. I don't know, Steve, you probably can describe it better than I can. But
And it's an online competitive game. I don't play it. It's
There you
for
go.
the kids.
Exactly right.
I think
By the way, we're basically... Yeah.
it's really random, but it's pretty cool at the same time when you see like a cartoon version of a Wanderers player. I think some big teams across the world are part of it as well. So there's only 3 A-League teams, I believe. Us,
Celtic
City,
are
and Sydney.
involved. Celtic are involved.
Yeah.
AC
so-
Milan are also one of the teams.
Exactly. So we're in the same class of these big teams now, right?
But
It's a random thing that you'd never see an A-League team a part of, but it's pretty cool. Like
but
it doesn't affect anything, right? It's
It
just
doesn't.
marketing and branding and that sort of stuff, right?
It's just people just taking gripes at it because it's cheesy and it's
Fortnite
fun
round.
for the kids and whatever. Yeah, Fortnite round. Like, you know, see people rock up and do stupid dances, you know, when they do like the dancing
Well,
cameras and stuff like that.
stores, so it's different.
Oh, man. Yeah, but they're a Mickey Mouse team anyway.
A Star Wars round, may as well have a Fortnite round, whatever. Also, we'll talk about refereeing decisions a bit later, I reckon, but constant fixture changes is a thing that's even stressing me out because I'm getting emails like about, we had the fixture change twice in one morning about when our next game was going to be, and I'm pretty sure they forgot to change the details because it still said Melbourne victory, but I'm assuming they meant the Newcastle game. But for now, we have a game coming up, but not for a while. And we don't know anything about the other games. I don't know which site to trust. Everything's showing different things.
Well, at the moment, we're playing Newcastle next Friday. We're supposed to play Melbourne Victory on the Saturday, the 30th, but now we're playing Newcastle on the 29th. And then after that, it's probably the derby again, isn't it? On the 16th of Feb or something, unless we have a game in between. It's this border thing, right? The borders are just being closed, is screwing everything up. So you're complaining about games every 3 days now. Wait till everyone has to play
We have
catch up. Because Perth is playing their first game today, and we've played 4. So, and then you throw in ACL. What happens with that? Because they're talking about doing a hub in Qatar again for a few weeks for the group stage, and then FFA Cup if that ever starts. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. We're gonna be games. So it's gonna be a squad. It's going to be a rotation policy over the shop.
If they do a hub in Qatar and we have a team over there, then what's going to mean for their fixtures here as well? And then It's just going to be a bloody mess. Well, that's what I'm saying is
leagues up.
Yeah, I think whoever's been given the task to sort this out is not having a good time because, like I said, I think originally they tried to schedule our Newcastle game. The email I got, like I'm talking like hosting email I got was for that morning, said the 28th. So I'm like, all right, so Thursday, we're playing Thursday. And then I think they must have shuffled a few other things around. And then a couple of hours later, they were like, no, we're going to announce it for the Friday. So not fun. I don't want to be them at
You
all.
gotta wait till they announce it before they tell you, all right? It's like,
Oh no, but like with us, it's back end stuff anyway. Like it's not. It was just whatever before they announced it. I think they're just trying to get there. I mean, obviously the guys working in the back, or like the production team for the game day, they're trying to get their stuff sorted as well. Like I feel sorry for them trying to have different key times, different production meetings, changing things around, different teams that we're meant to be playing. So like it is a mess of a tournament this season.
Yeah, the logistics of it would be a nightmare trying to organise teams, interstate travel, if they're going to be driving in by coach, if they're flying, then if they need to quarantine and isolate and all the other crap that goes with everything these days when you're travelling. So I think, Stephen, you mentioned a couple of weeks ago, our first 5 or 6 games are all inside New South Wales, but now with this, the Monday the 8th apparently is when we're meant to be playing Melbourne City away. If that's not going to go ahead, then it might be rescheduled, or we may maybe just wait another week and then just go straight to the derby on the 13th of Feb.
yeah, it was supposed to be most of our games in New South Wales anyway, but that included playing interstate teams, and now it's just turned into a New South Wales Super Cup. And it's like a round robin that you used to do as a kid on the Saturday and Sunday. That's what it seems like. It's like we've got a different conference and everyone else is a different conference, and then maybe we'll join the conferences up later. They're gonna start running our fixtures soon, unless we start mixing the conferences up, because we're gonna play Jets already twice within 3 weeks, and we had that in previous seasons anyway. We've had stupid fixtures like this, but if we play Sydney again in a couple of weeks, and we play Central Coast again, we're gonna run out of teams. So
I mean,
let's hope the ball.
Yeah. Well, it's looking like the restrictions are easing. The only problem is if there's another spike or a cluster, then it could mean changing it up again. But speaking of playing the same team twice in 3 weeks, our W League team, the women, played Sydney FC again after playing them the first round, and we lost 2-0 to this game. I unfortunately couldn't stick around for that, and I think a lot of people couldn't either. And I'm just not sure about these doubleheader derby fixtures, to be honest, because I kind of feel like when they do it pre-game, people aren't arriving early enough. You know what I mean? If they're doing it as a curtain raiser, and then they've set them up as the headliner this time around, and people didn't stick around. So I just don't think it's winning for the W League to do big games like this together.
It's a tough one though, because you would have thought that you've had 14 or 15 odd thousand at the Sydney Derby. It's one of obviously the lowest attended one was the one where there was 0 attending in the 1-1 draw last season, the last one at Bankwest for the season. But this one here, maybe it's not the lowest, but it really might be in comparison to the 60 odd thousand derbies we've had in the last couple of years, particularly playing at ANZ. But 14,000, obviously with all circumstances given, you would have thought that at least maybe 8 to 10,000 might have stuck around and thought, you know what, we've just watched a decent Sydney derby, let's kick back and watch another one. It was still early on. It was only 7:30 when it kicked off, when normally that's when the main match of the night would have been the men playing in the A-League, but they flipped it and gave it to the women, and it's just, yeah, 14,000 were attended, and then you're telling me that, 11,500 odd thousand just uppity and just went home. Like, I mean, what else do you do? How else do you try and get people to come to the W League games when, there's an opportunity to watch proper, athletes playing, doing their thing and bossing it, and it's not working. So I don't know if it might not be a fixtures thing, maybe it might be a product thing, or maybe it just needs a bit more exposure, and maybe if they persist a little bit like this, you might actually start seeing a bit of an upturn in the coming weeks or months. But you can't gauge this on this one thing here. I think you do need to try it a couple of times, and that maybe might entice more people to stick around, or maybe come for the game if they can't attend the earlier one.
I just think that they can, the W League can draw its own crowd. When they played, I mean, the first few seasons when they were playing smaller games, or like out in Penrith or wherever, they draw their own crowds. I've been to plenty of W League games where it's just a W League game, but a couple of things like this, these stadiums they're going to be a set capacity, so you're already taking away from how many people can come. Like when you have a W League game on its own, there are enough W League fans that are going to go, albeit it's not going to be at ANZ. Do you know what I mean? But those smaller stadiums, when they're playing at Marconi or wherever they're playing, they get their crowd. The other thing is, like you said, fair derby, man. I was there. It was probably one of the dullest games I've ever watched, man. It was just like pushing a ball around the middle and nothing was happening. And by the end of it, I was like, mate, like no one wants to stick around for another, like, or what's coming up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what happens if they're putting the A-League game first? What happens in the A-League game is going to determine sometimes whether people want to stick around for another 2 hours. And also parking was expensive.
True that. Yeah, no, I can't say. I only watched the mini match, so I wasn't able to actually gauge the whole game. I was actually out on a boat, which I completely forgot about because I made the arrangement during the black social hole that is the Christmas and New Year's period. So I couldn't do my live stream as planned, but I was keeping tabs on the game. And you know, if I'm gauging it off 20 minutes and you were there for the whole game, so I'll take your word for it. But Steve, I don't know, anything from you regarding these fixtures or anything like that? Do you think it works, or is it something that they maybe just got to keep trying?
I think there's, 45 minutes between full time and the kickoff. That's a long time. But for adults, that's fine. But when you have a family and young kids, good luck having, like, you have problems having your young kids sit down to watch one game, let alone let them stay there for another 2 hours for another game. So it's a 5 o'clock kickoff, and you want them to stay there till 9. That's 4 hours. You want your little kid, like a 5-year-old or younger, to sit around. That's not going to happen, man. So the double headers have a place, but the gap between the games, which is understandable because W League or the second team has to train before the game, like practice. I don't know, man. Like it's like I'm gonna do a wrestling analogy here. Like when you put a massive main event in WrestleMania halfway through the event, and the crowd gets a massive high, and they expend a lot of energy in that match or that game, and then they put like a shitty match afterwards, just so people can just just toilet break, and just rest a bit until the next big match, right? So if you're gonna have a derby that gets quite heated, and then I think Sydney weren't happy the way they played anyway. So both sets of fans, like we were happy that we came away with a point. We should have won that, but we got screwed. Sydney fans are complaining that they didn't serve up a good performance. Then you want them to wait another 45 minutes to watch like another game where they're not really that invested in. So how many stayed around for the women's match? It was about 4,000 or something, wasn't there?
Well, the A-League reported 2,500, and for the
so that's a normal W League crowd, like what Tats was saying. Like, so you're going to expect people that aren't really invested in the W League match to begin with to come off the game of the derby and then wait another 45 minutes for the W League, which they don't really care about. It's now Saturday night. They can do whatever they want because the men's was early. I think it's just there's a lot of circumstances here, a lot of factors. I don't think don't use this one as a test case, like be all and end all. It's a failure or success. But I think Tats is right in the sense that maybe the W League should go its own way and do its own thing. Like they're marketing both leagues at the same time as a W League, A League, but they're different markets. They should be different demographics, right? Like the W League and the A League are different demographics. And we had Sarah Walsh on our podcast in season 1 talking about like the US league that they got like all these team girls in the crowd, like 20,000 of them in the crowd cheering like crazy. That's your market. Like your market is not me. Your market is not Nick. Like we'll watch it if it's on, but I don't go out of my way to watch the W League because I got other things to do. And
and the
Go.
No, I was gonna say, and the standalone W League games that I've gone to, they've had a great crowd. Like I said, they're not 20,000 crowd, but they've got 4,000-5,000 strong, and they're people I don't see at W League games. I mean, I don't see at A League games. Like sometimes when I go to a couple of W League games, I'm like, yo, where are these fans from? And there are a lot of young girls. There are a lot of like Mina's friends. A lot of that crowd. People have and they've got merch. They've got their W League teams, their players. Everyone's wearing the jersey. Everyone's got their favorite player on their back. Like it's an entirely different demographic, an entirely different audience, and they can draw their own crowd for their own games. It's just not working. If they're going to do it, they should do it the other way around. That way, people can come a bit early and catch at least second half of a W League game, and then get it like as a warm up to an A League game, as in like the crowd that don't usually go to an A League game, W League game. But I think this was. They tried it. I don't think they should do it again, to be honest.
And the whole COVID thing as well, like that probably throws another spanner in the works too, right? You're already taking a risk going to the game, wearing a mask for 2 hours at the game. Now you want me to sit here for another 2.5 hours for the end of the W League game. So you want me to wear a mask now, sitting down for 5 hours and chasing my kid around, and then paying stupid amount of money for parking and food and all that sort of stuff. It's a big ask. So yeah, I think you're right. I think they should go their own way and start doing their own thing, do their own marketing and all this sort of stuff. But at the moment, they've amalgamated them. They put them together in the same thing, in the same product. It's not the same product. They're different products. I see the W League like college football, right? You're talking about like people with the jerseys and all that sort of stuff. Because a lot of the W League players are local players, and the fans going there are contemporaries of them, right? They're friends. They grew up with them, and I know that girl because I used to play with her in high school. She's a friend of mine, and it's all extended friends and family. And then he gets her own fan base from there. Whereas the W League the A League is like the NFL, where it's just franchises, right? It just follow the franchise. Whereas the W League is a bit more local and a bit more personable like that. That's how I see it.
Makes sense.
I agree. Well, let's get into a few of these games. We'll quickly touch base on what happened in both of them and then maybe speak on some highlights of the games. All right, let's get into the derby because I think that was one of the least enjoyable derbies I've ever watched, to be honest. Nick, you said you watched a mini match. Stephen, did you watch the whole match?
I watched it at home and I didn't feel the boredom that you're talking about. It didn't have the fire of a normal derby because of, I think, the lack of crowd. That creates a lot of that fire and a lot of tension. But there was still tension in this game. It was a bit of a tactical battle, I think, and both teams didn't want to make a mistake. I think that's what we're seeing, and we're seeing that a lot this season from most games. But we were under pressure big time in the first 5-2. They should have scored 2 goals in the first 5 minutes. Magush is like he's repaying the faith basically. He hasn't been beaten in open play yet in 4 games.
He's conceded 3 goals.
Maybe it was the ANZ, you can't feel the atmosphere unless it's fully packed anyway. So it was not even that. And on top of that, I don't know, it was like Saturday afternoon game and it just felt dead. And then on top of that, we weren't allowed to chant and we weren't allowed to stand up, that's for sure. But, it was the usual. So we heard the Sydney FC side, the Covo chanting and clapping and whatever. And we're like, all right, fine, we'll do the same. So the RBB started behind us. They started chanting. And then, lo and behold, nice 20 cops surrounded us in the bay, didn't they? No one on the other side. Which is classic derby.
Wait, did that happen to yourselves and the Cove, or was it just RBB?
Come on, Nick. What are you,
Stupid question, of course. Stupid question, of course. That's just dumb.
Well, not from what we could see. That's for sure.
The police and whoever the fuck are making these decisions are absolute fucking morons. That's all I have to say about that.
No one's making
editing, so I don't know.
No one's making decisions. That's the problem.
Well, someone's deciding on this is what's going to happen if this is what happens in this situation, and clearly that's what's happening. And I just think it's dumb. But I did make the point that atmosphere is a big thing in these games. And even though you can have the two teams, we can have the best Wanderers 11 and the best Sydney FC 11 of the last 15 years, whatever, the last nine or so years of the Wanderers playing together in the Sydney derby without a crowd, and it would still be a bit of a dullish game if you are there within the stadium. But with the fans in action, even if it was 100 each going hard out, full active, it would have made a bigger difference. But naturally, we're A-League fans and people don't want us to have any fun.
It was definitely, when we were chanting, it definitely felt, there were glimpses of, it is a derby, yay, let's get fired up. But maybe just from where I was standing, I should probably watch the game back. But I just didn't feel like the team was fired up. I think we went in overly cautious, like definitely didn't want to lose, definitely didn't want to concede, and there was no creativity is a thing on the side, but it just felt like we went in scared. That's how it felt like we went into the game anyway. That's how it felt for me.
Well, when you consider how we started with, obviously Stephen pointed out Margush making some good saves in the first 5 or 10 minutes and definitely needed to be up there. But I mean, seeing Aquilina and Russell start again as wing backs, I thought that was a positive move and keeping, and that seems to be what perhaps Robinson will want to see with us if we're going to play this 3 at the back system with wing backs. McGowan, Tass and Ziggy Gordon, who's become a bit of a cult hero after the Mariners game, which we'll talk about shortly. But Dorrans and Bacchus in the middle, Troisi running the midfield, Nikolai Muller and Cox up front doing their rotation policy themselves. So it was a decent lineup. And even on the bench,
same lineup as the game before, mate.
Say again?
It's the same lineup as the game before.
Yeah, like I said, like you said,
Yeah,
you
same lineup.
don't change a winning team. You don't change the lineup. So obviously they had to for the Mariners game because it was like 3 days later. But in saying that, still you could see Nikolai Muller was probably the most creative player for us. I mean, Troisi tried to do some things himself, but when Muller's on the ball, he just seems to have a knack of 50-50s favouring him, and he'll try and dribble past the player and the ricochet will favour him and he'll keep running onto it. And there was that moment where he took the shot and he think it was deflected wide or something, and he could have done better with it if he opened up his body a bit more. But you can clearly see that he's definitely our creative spark, and when he's not on the pitch, the team look a little bit out of ideas in the middle. And you can have Abini running out of defence, you can have Yeboah trying to do his thing, you can have Troisi trying to make the things happen. But with Muller's not on the pitch, from what I've seen, I don't see a very creative Western Sydney Wanderers.
Yeah, he's definitely been our best player this year so far, either off the bench or starting. And there's a big difference in both games when he's on the pitch or when he's off the pitch. You can just see that you're right, Nick, that we missed a focal point. That's where Treese is supposed to be doing. But he hasn't. Yeah, he's had a good shift, but he hasn't stood up the way Muller has, despite the fact he scored. But like anyone could have scored that goal. So yeah, Muller definitely is the best thing, and yeah, that creativity, Tats, that you're talking about, where we're creating things, but there's no guy at the end of that thing to put the ball away. Like we talked about 5 weeks ago in the preseason chat, and I'm going to talk about it every week until we buy a striker, because we have all these players that can do stuff, but we don't have that guy that you give the ball to, he's going to score. Beanie is not that guy. Cox, I think, is better as that second striker, that shadow striker. And we don't have anyone else. Like Kamal is not a striker. So I'm running our names here who can actually take that spot. If we're going to play in this system, you need to have a focal point. And there's time, unless we're relying on our wingers to score, like the last game, like the Jets game. So I don't know. Or not the Jets game, the game before, whatever it was. We're lacking that. I noticed it in both games. We're just lacking this focal point, like this Riera, this Juric guy, like, or even Dino was at least a focal point that we just gave the ball to. He just headed it on to someone else. Like, we don't have that. We have changed the way we've played a bit. Like, Cox is no longer getting these aimless long balls for him to try and win. At least we learned that quick smart, that's a pointless tactic. So now we're trying to play through the middle more. We're playing out from the back all the time as well, from goal kicks and things like that, because we don't have a tall team. So there's no point kicking long, right? So now we're playing out from the back. And Bacchus is just killing it for the middle. But I feel like we get to the final third maybe quickly, and then there's no one there to make that last run to give the ball to and to score, or for him to hold the ball up or something like that. We're just missing something in that final third. And I feel like as the season progresses, that's going to become more and more glaringly obvious if we don't fix it.
Yeah, we can clearly see getting into the middle of the box. There's just no one there, that the final third just falls flat. If it's not for someone taking a shot from outside the box or trying to tee something up there, it's almost like we get to the penalty box, a cross will come in and it will try to be headed or connected with, but there's no one actually, back to goal, trying to receive a pass and then turning and shooting. Like, I don't see that just yet. I mean, it might be Cox might be that player, but he's not in the box enough for him to actually receive a ball like that. So we're always playing on like an overlapping run or something like that.
It's really frustrating to see, because now we've got a system where Riera could play that, but when Riera was playing for us, we didn't have anyone at the back to feed him anything, where he felt like he had to do everything himself. It's like the most frustrating thing to see. That was the most frustrating thing to see on Saturday, actually. It was that a whole lot happening in the middle, pushing the ball around, and then just, I'm like, and where are we going to go from here? It was very much that, and what from here?
There was no end product. There was nothing happening. It was just moving forward. All goes well from defense through the midfield, and then you get to the forward line, and it's like, okay, who wants to take this on? And it's like, hot potato. No, you take it. No, I don't want it. You take it. Oh, I'll give it back to that guy. No, I said I don't want it. I'll give it to someone else. And it's like no one wants to make a decision except for Muller, who wanted to have a few shots. And I mean, to be fair, I think arguably he is going to be that player that is going to maybe be creating a lot of the chances for us when playing through the middle of the pitch. I think through out wide, you can see that Aquilina, I thought he had another good game, and Russell on the other flank on the right side. These two guys will be the players that will be providing a lot of width. And it's almost like watching, some teams in the Premier League play, and also in saying that, these players are getting forward. I mean, Russell was forward for that for the equaliser for Troisi. I mean, we've got a right wing back, and he's almost playing pseudo striker at times. Like, I want to know what the situation is there.
Yeah.
Darn.
Sorry, I'm taking notes. I didn't hear what you said.
It's fantastic podcasting.
Can
Thanks,
I just,
Steve.
while you're updating notes, I just want to give a shout out to Ziggy Gordon for during the derby, man. That guy was a workhorse. He did not stop. He was. I mean, it didn't help. I had Turner and Cam, not Cam Dan, but Jam Cow behind me. And they were just, you know how when they like latch onto a joke and they keep going. So it was just like, Ziggy, I'm going to name my son Zygmunt. Go on, Ziggy, pass it to Ziggy. So it'd be like on the other end. They're just like, pass it to Ziggy. I'm like, all right, this joke has gone old. But he was pushing up when he needed to. Or actually, he didn't need to push up that far, but he was. And I just thought he didn't stop. Like he ran it.
Penalty.
Yeah, so Ziggy has definitely won the hearts of the Wanderers faithful very quickly. For an uninspired signing that many of us weren't really like, why are we getting this guy? He's proven why he's shown why he got signed and why Robinson picked him. Every game now, he's like fought to the end, putting his body on the line. He did it well in the derby. He did it again in Central Coast after getting shit for 90 minutes, and he stood up, fist pumped to the crowd afterwards. Apparently, they chanted his name and everything. So it's not hard to get onto our side, is it? It's like have a couple good performances, put your heart out there, and then you're a Wanderer for life now. Like that's just the way it is. It's not hard.
How often do
Some
we
of these
say
former players needed to learn that?
Just give a shit. Just make it like you give a shit. That's it. That's what you got to do.
Mentality, man. Like,
just give a shit.
There's so many players we've had over the years that we can rattle off all these names that just were here did not give a shit, and that's why we don't like you, because like you just produce nothing. And all this hoo-ha around your name and who you are and how much we're paying you is like, it doesn't mean anything, man. Like, just do it. This guy I've never heard of before is like working his ass off in the defense, and now we all like, this guy's a starter now.
100%.
It's like it's 100% starter, and Tass next to him is 100% starter because now he's finally starting every week, and you can actually see what this guy can do. So, and then Nada starts last night because McGowan apparently has done an Achilles or something. He might be out for 2 to 6 weeks, depending on how his recovery is going to go. So Nata might actually start every game now. And I saw our good friend Mac Wanderers Tragic, whatever your handle is these days,
We just call him
saying that he's
Dad or
like
Craig.
a young Spranovic now. It's like he calls him like a young left-footed Spranovic. So that's
He
hype.
calls Tass that?
No, Nata.
Nata.
Yeah.
Man. Before we I want to talk about our young players and Nata starting as well. But before we do that, let's just look at some key moments. And by key moments, I mean bullshit penalty call.
Did VAR even look at that?
Apparently they did. Apparently they did, but it was off screen. You didn't actually see anything happen. It's like commentators.
They didn't consult with the ref.
Yeah, don't know.
They probably said nothing to look at.
Yeah, when I watched it first, I thought, penalty. Okay, let's have a look here because I'm on live score. I can see what's happening. So when I got home later that night, turn on mini match. I'm watching and I'm like, okay. Before that, Muller. Honestly, dude, like he's clean on goal. There's been a mix-up between Wilkinson or whoever it was and Redmayne, and they've let Muller into space, and all he had to do was just tap it around the keeper, and he's got a side foot finish. Instead, he tries to lob him over, and he just goes completely wrong. And then literally the very next minute, that's when they concede that penalty. Ninkovic,
standard
yeah.
Papa, isn't it?
Hey, honestly, when I saw that happen, I just thought to myself, I go, 100%. If anyone's writing, scripting a Wanderers match from 0 second to like 95th minute, that is definitely happening. Wanderers will have a clear as day opportunity to score. They'll fluff it, and then the opposition will bag themselves a goal on the other end. For the pen, I don't know. I can see why it was given. I can also see why it probably wouldn't have been given. But you can see Troyes sort of leans into the direction that Ninkovic is running in. So, on the balance of your probability, you probably say, yeah, it's a penalty, but it's probably not as clear as a penalty you might like. But for argument's sake, I'll just say, yeah, okay, fair enough. He blocked his path. Penalty.
Where's
what?
Where's Nishimura when you need him?
Exactly. No, we had Jam Cow behind us, and as soon as like the ball went up the other end, he goes, Troyes is probably going to give away a penalty. And then they
bullshit.
Every single one of us are like, are you serious, bro? Can you stop talking?
But get out.
Yeah, we should have kicked him out. And I bought the guy a beer. Definitely should have kicked him out.
Well, at least Troyes did make up for it. Not about 5 minutes later. So I'm surprised that didn't get called back. Like, because we're talking about Sydney FC here in VAR, right? So the fact that Redmayne, he actually dropped it, and then I don't think.
But was it offside? Would they have called him offside?
That's what I was waiting for. I was waiting for an offside call. It looked like Russell was offside, but apparently he wasn't. Or maybe I don't know.
I don't think he was. I can't remember. Don't quote me on that. But he didn't actually. I don't think he actually took the ball off Redmayne. I think Redmayne actually dropped it. And he
fumbled it.
So yeah, and I don't know if Russell even touched it or not. But then Therese is there for the tap in, and luckily he scored it. He didn't go for like top corner or something stupid like that. Just slot it in, and then he didn't celebrate. So Brendan was very happy on Twitter when it happened, because Brendan's been watching all these games. I've noticed he's been actually live tweeting him, so he's obviously up early in the morning. Over in the UK, he was like, "Don't celebrate!" Yes, way to my heart.
Get the ball, celebrate. New kid on the way. Off you go. Run back. As soon as he scored, he just ran, picked up the ball, and said, "Mate, this game's not over. Let's go. Let's keep playing again."
And we were all over him after that, man.
Yep.
Like both games, in the last 20 minutes is all us, and we just need to put the damn ball in the back of the net, because when you dominate that much, you need to have something to show for it, and I think a draw is probably a fair result based on the overall 90 minutes, but man, we should have won that game.
Yeah, be disappointed.
A year ago, we'd have lost it.
Oh, 100%. We would have been pumped in the last 10 minutes, man. Would have conceded another two.
And same as like we would have drew the game against Newcastle, they would have scored another goal, and we probably would have lost the game against Central Coast as well. So this is last year. So this is the difference this year to last year. Like last year, we won the first 3 games. That's fine. We're top of the table at the same time amount right now, right? But the difference was that we weren't that good, and we just got the goal, and somehow we just kept them out. Pure luck because of Robbie Slater checked the line, and the ball wasn't over the line. All this sort of stuff.
Parallaxed.
But the difference this year is like we've earned these points. We've fought for it. We fought for the draw. We fought for the win. We've come back from being goal down. We haven't let the other team back into the match. We've rode our luck at times, but we created our own luck, and the grit and determination is a bit different. So I think ATB feedback later on will see that the optimism is a bit different compared to last year. Whereas last year we were saying, "Oh yeah, we won, but we haven't been that good." But we stayed the same, and everyone else got better. But I can see us actually improving every week, and Robertson has got them drinking the Kool-Aid, that's for sure, right now. And they're all like, everyone's on the same page. I think the test is, when the fixtures start coming thick and fast, and the squad gets really tested. That's where a lot of teams are going to struggle now with the squad. And Robertson's mentioned the squad in his press conferences already. He goes, "It is a squad." So these young kids are coming in, they're taking the spots, and Nada comes in. Didn't notice, like the guy played like he fits in the team. Aquilina did the same thing. So a bunch of these guys, they're taking their chances, and there's a bunch of other kids waiting for their chance too, and they're going to get their chance.
I was going to say, Aquilina does not look scared at all. Like, fresh into the team, he looks like he's been playing for ages. Sorry, Tats.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, just before we move on from the derby, it should be noted that it is 768 days since Sydney FC won a derby, so let's just keep that one going. But
69 when you listen to this, if you listen to this tomorrow.
If you listen to this tomorrow, yeah. We are grown adults here. But yeah, man, let's talk about well, he would have had to make some quick changes based on the McGowan's injury, but he only told Nato the day before. He's like, "I need you to start tomorrow." And these young boys are really coming up and been like, "Yep, take on to the squad." And Taz completely controlling the back for that game. I am so excited to see who else he's going to pluck out of our youth squad to bring up into because we're going to see a few more of these. We're going to have to.
Well, the only changes.
I made a mention of sorry, Nick. I made a mention of the youth guys a couple of games ago, and someone replied to me saying it's not surprising. Most of these guys have played the NPL season, right? So they've come off the NPL season straight into the A League, so they're fit, they're ready to go. They play with each other. They know what they're doing. And all they need is just Robinson to say, "Stay in here instead of over there," and that's why they fit perfectly. They're not a deer in the headlights. Like Aquilina just took his chance. Like, "Yep, this is my spot now. Come and get it."
Guy could be top goal scorer if he really put his chances away, and he plays left wing back. Go figure. Go figure.
Yeah, he needs to. Like I said this somewhere that Shannon Cole's got a lot of goals for us from the fullback position, if he wants to get into the box that many times, and some really important goals for us as well. Like, so if Aquilina wants to get into the box that many times, mate, you got to practice your shooting because your crossing is one thing, and that still needs a little bit of work. But if you're going to be in an attacking position, you're almost like a wing forward at times. Practice your shooting, and you can get on the score sheet many times. And Russell's the same. That they need to. That's a certain part of their game they got to work on if they're going to get into these positions. Make it worth your while, right? You're in the box, like make it test the keeper and get get a deflection or get a goal or something like that.
No,
yeah, I think Aquilino, he should have gotten on the score sheet at the derby, and Russell during the Mariners game. What was your breakdown for the Mariners game?
I'll go first on this one. I thought that the Mariners actually were pretty good. Like, again, we had a bit of a slow start, so it was also a bit of a suspect, opening 15, 20 minutes. Mariners had a few chances. Mark Gush as well with another save from the dirtiest player in the game, and that's not Ric Flair. That is damn Matt Simon. I can't believe that bloke is still playing. Absolute grub of a player. Two-footed Ziggy Gordon like he was Liu Kang doing his finishing move, and then smacked an elbow across Bacchus's face.
He also chopped Bacchus before that.
Before that as well, yep.
He got
still on the field.
Yeah,
not on a warning. So the guy did like 4 yellow card offenses, man.
Two straight reds. Well, 4 yellow cards, 2 straight reds at least, and the guy stayed on. I don't know how Kurt Ams just let him play, man.
Kurt Ams didn't give a yellow card to anyone. Like, considering the derby, the ref was giving us yellow cards for bullshit fouls. Just before we go to the Mariners game, we had 2 out of 3 defenders on a yellow card for the majority of the match in the derby. By the way, Tass got one in like the 5th minute, which was ridiculous. Your first foul and you get a yellow card in a derby is bullshit. And then you go to the next game, and then he's not giving anything. Like, it was like you could chop people left, right, and center. And he wasn't given any warnings. We barely got fouls, and then there was no yellow card. And like they should have been down to 10 men.
Wow.
They're crying about all this other stuff, but like, you guys like kicked us off the park, and we stood up to him. When Matt Simon took out when he kicked Ziggy Gordon, Tass was one of the first ones in his face.
Yeah,
and that's awesome, right? Like, this young kid is like, I'm not taking this shit from you, man. Like, this is my team. This is my teammate. I'm going to be the future captain next year. I should be anyway. So Dorans was doing it as well. He was getting into their face as well. So the team, you're starting to see that collective now that we haven't seen for a very long time. That they're not just one or two, like, because they're mates. It's like the whole team's like, no, screw you, man. Like, this is our game now.
Well, to be fair, Kurt Ams did give 2 yellow cards to the Mariners in that first half. One to Alu Kual in the second, and Matt Simon finally got one in the 36th minute. I don't know if that was for the kick out on Ziggy or not, but he finally got one.
I think it was for the Ziggy. Is it that or for the elbow to Bacchus's head?
Oh, actually, it might have been the elbow. Actually, I think it was the elbow. Yeah, it was the elbow. You're right. It was the elbow straight into the face.
He survived a crunching tackle from behind and kicking Ziggy in the box. And then there's finally the elbow. And then I think Stadge was like complaining that Bacchus was playing for a red, and he feigned it. Like,
are you serious? You fucking idiot! You are a fucking idiot.
I think Bacchus is getting his shit kicked out of him. But
he should have been captain in this game
as well. Like, yeah. Well, that's the question. Why Dorans was captain? That's strange.
Seniority. I don't
Do you
like
think
it.
he just gave seniority over that? But other than that, I think he's making some good decisions on the squad. We were talking about being a different team in the last 20, 25 minutes of games, and even like a different team when things go against us, instead of putting our heads down, like we've seen in the last 2 to 3 seasons when things don't go our way. Like, going down 1-0 in a derby to a shitty penalty or whatever it was on the day. Any other season or the few seasons we've had could have been knocked us right out. But to keep playing on for it is like seeing a different team. And I think finally, after 3 seasons, we're starting to see some sort of mentality form.
Yeah. I mean, just watching now, looking at the heat map from the last 20 minutes from the 70th to the 95th minute on the A-League website, the Mariners map is basically pretty much heavily in their own defensive third, And our one, like if I literally just switch it over, our one is literally all over the pitch from our defensive third to the midfield to the final third as well. We were literally controlling that game for the last 20 odd minutes,
They
which
were
is
parking the bus like crazy, man.
very
like,
different to see.
I looked at it and I pointed it to Lisa at one time, like, those two guys are the furthest forward players, and you know what these guys were? Just outside the D, like 5 meters from the D. And like these guys are the most furthest forward players in the Mariners at the moment. You know, like I think I can't remember if that was before or after we scored. It must have been before we scored, because it was before we scored, because we scored around the 80th minute or something. And once we scored, it all went out the window. Their whole structure went out the window. They were very tight all game. They were very compact, and that's why Aquilino would get the ball and like, shit, I got nowhere to go because there's like 20 Mariners in front of me. I got to go back, and we recycled the ball many times. It went backwards a lot, right? Because there was nowhere to go, and there was no one in the box to kick the ball to, like to pass it to or put a cross in. But once we scored, they were like, shit, what we're gonna have to score now. Route one football. The park was all over the place. Their structure was completely out the window. It was like they forgot everything they were taught by the coach, and they went to basics route one football and just kicking it everywhere, like just hoping for these miracle passes. It was actually pretty funny to watch. It's all this structure that these coaches waste their time on doing, and then you go down and it just goes out the window. Like the players just resort to like shitty tactics that's supposed to be like nutted out of them like from ages ago. It was funny. But they were very compact and didn't give us any space, because I think Stadge must have done his homework and knows that we're pretty good on the break, like because Muller and Bini are really quick and all this sort of stuff. So and the wing backs as well. So they didn't give us any space, and they were getting behind us a lot. I've noticed that as a trend in this season, basically, the opposition gets behind the defense a lot. We're just lucky that they're not putting those chances away, and Amagush is putting in good saves. But I don't know if that's because of the wing backs going forward too much and the balls are going where they're supposed to be, because that Nisbet kid was like, he was getting a lot of space. I think he was on Russell's side, I think.
He was on Aquilina's side.
So he was just finding a lot of space, and so again, we just rode our luck a bit. So we got to look into that, because better teams will punish us. When you have like a Fornaroli or McLaren at the end of it, they're going to punish us. Yeah, so we've got to be careful.
Just looking at the average positions, it does look like we were playing pretty much high up. Aquilino's almost a pseudo left winger, whereas Tate was still sort of playing defensive. And you can see that based on average positions, the Mariners didn't really go too far forward if we're just looking at the centre of the pitch as a whole, not specifically where they were in different thirds of the pitch. But you can definitely see we're so far up, and that did give space, because once our midfielders are up forward as well, or someone's trying to make a breakthrough or make a run for someone else to get a bit of space, look for a ball, then you see there's a gap opening up in the middle, and then that's when the ball came through from Nisbet or from De Silva through to Simon or Qual or whoever was on the pitch, or Bowman at one point as well. So that is something we probably need to look at, where we can't give that much space to a team who is very quick on a counter-attack and could blitz past us quite easily, like Sydney did in the derby, where they had a few moments here. But for the Mariners, I mean, it's lucky that they didn't have any decent enough chances. Nisbet smacked the crossbar early in the second half. Arguably, he probably deserved himself a bit of a goal, but that's how it works. And before this game, Mariners had not conceded a goal in 2 matches, and we had struggled to score a goal. So it's nice to see that Muller coming off the bench and scoring us that goal. And you can see he didn't really celebrate. He looked pretty annoyed, if I have to read his body language. I don't know if that's because he was left on the bench for this game, but it did start the derby, or maybe he was just that fired up that he's probably thinking, you guys are absolute rubbish. Do I need to come on and score goals for you?
Have to drag the team to a win.
Yeah.
Carl Robertson actually in the press conference mentioned saying, there are players that are on the bench that are probably used to starting, and they're probably not happy to be on the bench. So I'm not sure if Muller's actually expressed his being unhappy with being left on the bench, but he goes, it's good that they do. He said it's good they do. They should be upset that they're on the bench. You know what I mean? So like whatever he's doing must be doing good.
100%.
I mean, they're playing like want to impress the popular guy kind of situation. You know what I mean? Want to do everything they can to impress the boss, because they want to make that starting squad.
Well, that Benny didn't do himself any favors this game. He didn't do much at all. He was lost. I feel like he gets the ball and doesn't know what to do with it. I think he gets the ball in the wrong places. I think that guy is very similar to your ball, and he just needs a couple of touches and have a shot. When he gets the ball like in the center of the park, then he has to run with it and he has to decide what to do with it, and his decision making is not the best. We've got to work out where Beanie fits in this team, because at the moment he's not doing much for us, and he's a high profile player for us. But between him and your bowler, they're just fighting amongst this area of like, just throw you on for 20 minutes or maybe you start, but I don't know what they're doing. Like your bowler the guy has this unit and he gets touched and he falls over holding his face and his ankle all the time. It's like, mate, get up. Yeah. Like, you're the biggest guy in the park and like you fall over the easiest. Like, if you're going to fall over, at least win the foul instead of just like complaining that you didn't win the foul. Like, you remind me of Castellan all over again. We always used to complain when you lost the ball and didn't get the foul. Like, just get up.
But Castellan.
The good positive of this game is that Kamal is back from the dead. And he should have put us 2-0 up. But that might just be ring rust. So the kid, I don't know, he's had a stop-start preseason, I think, and with an injury or the whole contract situation, all that sort of stuff. But at least he's back in the squad, and we're going to need him because, like Josh has said multiple times, that he's very important. But where he fits in this team and this system, I don't know, because they want to put him more up front, and he was playing quite centrally in this game, but that was only like for the last 20 minutes. But you got all these guys playing centrally, but I don't know if they're all central players, and we've got to work out what we do in this final third, because we're fudging at the moment. I feel like we have a nice structure, Nick, like you said, like in the middle. When we get to the final third, then what?
Well, that's the thing. We're relying on our wingbacks to supply the ball into the box, and then if the wingbacks in Aquilina or Georgievski or Russell or Wilmering or whoever's going to be playing in that position is going to be saying, okay, I'm going to get out wide, give me the ball, and I'm going to swing a cross in. We need players in the box, which we will have. But when we're moving forward and we're trying to play out wide and bring some space for ourselves, if all of our players are literally in the center of the pitch, then these guys are just crowding the middle and there's nothing really happening, instead of maybe being an overlap or an outlet for the wingbacks that don't have to go all the way to the opposition's goal line, whip a cross in, and then have to sprint all the way back for a goal kick. I mean, that's the last thing I want to see him doing. Like, arguably, I want to see him move forward, get halfway in the opposition's box, whip a cross in, or maybe one on the other end, sit back in defense, because when you need to defend, you can swing into a back four, hopefully, and it just gives a bit more cover for the players that are in defense if everyone's up the pitch. But like you said, if these guys are just out in the middle, a cluster, not doing anything, then I'd be sitting there scratching my head saying, well, why are you two basically holding hands? Can you like separate a little bit so I can at least pass the ball to you 20 yards that way, and you can maybe do a 1-2 and then create a bit of space, drag some opposition out? I mean, I don't know why they're all bunched together. It's like watching under fives play.
The one highlight I had from this game was that great ball that Nata actually put through that ended up getting us the goal. With McGowan out, I mean, I'd be happy to see him in the back, but who else do you think we're going to need to bring in? Because if he's out for 6 weeks, if it's Achilles, that's a bit more than 6 weeks, I reckon. That'll be a blow.
I read somewhere that he's in the moon boot at the moment, and it was like 2 to 4 weeks or 2 to 6 weeks. So who knows? That must have come from the derby, I think, because he did do a weird clearance, I think, during the derby, and he was hobbling around for a bit, so it must have been from that. Don't forget, we've got Ziegler still. He was on the bench, and he wasn't on the bench this game either. He's dealing with some issue as well, as always, some other little minor injuries, but he's to come in as well. But I'd rather Tass and Nada and Diggy start, to be honest.
Youth, give me more youth.
Should we have a look at our ATV feedback? Nick, you put a question out earlier today.
Don't tell him it was me.
We asked our listeners. What do you mean?
No, it was me. I did it. I had a quiet few minutes at work, so I decided to put a question out there. Read the question for us, please.
It was, with the draw in the derby and a late win against the Mariners, how did we fare over the last few days? Are you happy, disappointed, or indifferent? We'll have a look at a few answers from our Twitter first. Now, let's have a look. So we had Pablo Football said, it's a decent start to the season, looking strong in defense and in midfield, however, still lacking a gun-out striker, which is pretty much what we've spent the last 20 minutes talking about, which is like, everyone can see, you can see a solid structure in a team. And then what?
Yeah.
Shooting blanks.
Ron the Memes, our good friend Ron the Memes says it's less of a false hope than last season's start. But last season, max points from opening 3, but on closer inspection, all our goals came straight down the middle. This season, still light in midfield and slow in possession, but looking a bit more organised. It's very similar to what we've been talking about. Like,
Steve, read that last bit again about the midfield.
which part?
Light
Still
in midfield. We've got that many midfielders, man. Need more midfielders. Don't worry. What's his name? Jordan Much is coming, and by the time he gets to full fitness, the season will be over. Yay.
That's right.
We're gonna need fresh legs anyway. Yeah, go on.
Yeah,
fresh legs. We're playing every 2 days, man. So.
Sam, don't know what the rest of it is. SNR20 says, I like for once we have a solid midfield. It will take time for everyone to gel. I seriously hate that term, gel. I can't use that term anymore. I've overused it too many times. Maybe 15 games in. To be fair, I don't think there's one game we've played and I'm like, shit, we've been dominated. It could be undefeated, really. I mean, it's a fair point. I mean, we've conceded 3 goals, all 3 of them from dead ball situations. One was a free kick, one was a penalty, corner, and the other was a penalty. So Margush is still yet to be troubled in open play, which is a good thing for me. In saying that, we've scored goals from open play, so that's a positive. So yeah, I'd be on Sam's point on that one.
I mean, basically, based on what you've just said as well, from our Facebook listeners, Roberto Martin said, playing well, scrapped through last night, but we are building a strong team, yet to concede an open play, which is what you just said. And in a few weeks' time, having Jordan will boost our squad as well.
Yeah, give him a boost. A new body on the cards is not a bad thing. And of course, we still don't know what's happening with Simon Cox. Maybe Jordan Much coming into the squad may be able to push someone else up a bit more forward. Maybe, you might see maybe Bacchus play a bit more forward. You might see Muller play the number 9 role. I mean, who the hell knows what's happening with this squad? And we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Don't really care as long as we get the points, right?
Oh,
put anyone up there.
Remember we said we don't care if we store.
He wins, it's fine.
If we score with Sotirio's ass like we did on our return from the ACL against Perth, who cares? We just want to win games. That's all. That's all we want for now. Then when we start winning games and we become good at winning games, then we can start complaining about how we're winning the games.
So
I agree.
Alfio Joseph says, really thrilled with the young guys. Muller is solid. Bacchus doing well. Maybe because he has overcome injury or has better support, or both. Cox and Abini pretty poor. Kamau looked promising. Yeboah looking better, doing better under Robinson. Margush doing extremely well. Teresi is average. Overall, we're in a good spot. We need goal scorers. Kid for your next show.
Oh, thanks, Alfio.
So basically, we have our own echo chamber here between us and all our fans, because everyone's saying the same thing.
Aren't all podcasts like that? And all it's a tribal thing. Everyone's on the tribe. That's how it works, doesn't it?
Yeah, but at least it's quite obvious where our strengths and weaknesses are at the moment. I think there's not many controversial things to discuss like in the past. We're solid. We're getting the points. There's room for improvement, and now it's up to Robinson to improve that little last bit, right? And these players like Bacchus has really stepped up this season, and Tassis as well, Aquilina as well, and Russell. All these young guys they've had blinder seasons, and I think the test for those guys is to do it every week. That's the difference between a good player and just a flash in the pan, right? Like how many over the A-League last 15 years, I've been watching it pretty much since the beginning. There's been so many young kids. Oh, is the next Harry Kewell, the next this, and he's gone. Never seen him again. He's had one good season. Second season, he just disappears off the face of the planet, and he's lucky if he's even playing football still. Whereas. So that's the difference between a flash in the pan, a good player, and a great player. It's just consistency. You got to be consistent. Bacchus has slowly built up to where he is now. Like he's been consistent. Last year he was a Players Player of the Year, or we voted, or Fans Player of the Year, or something at the Wanderers Awards, right? And he's slowly gone better. And now he's the best player on the park. And it's probably going to be our last season we have him, because if we're smart, we sell him for a very good price. And I think he's got a couple of years left in his contract, but.
Damn
He's not going to go for cheap.
Make him captain, man. Hurry up. I want to see Bacchus as captain.
He'll get it. No, you want to see Bacchus as captain? We want to see Tass as captain.
Yeah, but give Bacchus now, and then once Bacchus goes, then Tass becomes captain. I just think Bacchus has done well. He's not the biggest bloke. He's not the stockiest fella. He's probably skinnier than me in comparison to height and everything. But even then, the shit that guy goes through, copping elbows from a prick like Simon, getting hacked in the middle of the pitch as well from the opposition players. I mean, the guy's in his early 20s. He's still nimble. He's pretty quick. He's agile. This guy has come, stepped out of the shadows from his brother who went overseas. We all thought, Keanu was the best thing, and then everyone said, Kieran, sorry, my bad. Too many Keanus, too many back eyes, sorry. Kieran was the big thing, and it's like, no, wait till you see his brother, he's even better. And we're like, okay, let's check it out. We've seen him blossom in the last couple of seasons, actually seen him, become a first team player and do well, scoring, some good goals. Of course, the one against Melbourne last season, that was a lovely touch when Maya scored one of his only goals before he jetted off after a handful of games, and that worked out well. I just want to see him be captain at least for like a handful of games, so we can at least say that, yes, Keanu was captain of the Western Sydney Wanderers, and I'm just buzzed for the kid, man, honestly.
Yeah, I think he deserves to wear that armband.
The whole captain thing. Some players just aren't. They don't have the ambition to be a captain, because with captain, with great power comes great responsibility, right?
Thanks, Uncle Ben.
Yes. So if he gets the armband, that's a different lot of responsibility on his shoulders, right? At the moment, he's playing really good football. He's got a good support system around him, like on the park, and he's thriving in it. You throw the armband on him, that throws a different amount of pressure on him, different responsibility. He might not thrive in that space. He might be better off just doing what he's doing now and just being the best player on the park. He doesn't need the armband to prove how good he is, right? There's been many players, great players over the years. They're never captain of the team. They don't need to be.
They don't. I just think for him, for having come from the youth academy, making it through to the reserves into the first team, and being where he is right now, I think would just be a nice touch just to give him, like I said, don't have to be for the whole season. I just want to see him wear the captain's armband for at least a couple of games, whereas at least he can say, yes, I captained the team, that basically gave me my start in my footballing career, professional first grade footballing career. I just think, I personally just think that'd be a nice touch for him. But long term, I do think Tass is definitely the player we need to see wearing that captain's armband. And if he keeps getting in the opposition's face like he did to Simon the other day, because before that I've always seen him as a bit of a quiet fella, just goes about his business. But if he can actually get a bit of attitude, if he can be like Hawk in Cobra Kai, get himself a new haircut, get a new attitude on him, he can be pretty badass.
I spent all off season. I spent all off season catching up and trying to watch Seinfeld and South Park, and now I have to learn different references because of Cobra Kai.
Quiet. Quiet.
Actually, quiet. We're going to wrap it up. We haven't been talking about the table for the last few weeks because there's no point, but actually there is a point. I'm going to go through it. I'm going to go through one team. Number one, Western Sydney Wanderers, top of the table.
We've played double the amount.
I don't need it.
Anyone else? We'll go take it.
But you've got Newcastle Jets are at the bottom, and they've played. Well, you would have put this in before the game. They've played 4 games now, and they've just, at time of recording, lost to Brisbane Roar 2-1. So that'll be interesting to see how they go into the game. It'll be a real top of the table, bottom of the table clash next Friday. It'll change.
The good thing is our goal difference is positive. Is that the first time in like 5 years that we've had positive goal difference?
Probably.
It's always around the 0. It's +1 at the moment. We've got a good record of 2-1-1 at the moment, which is standard Wanderers, like all the draws and just blanket neutral across everything. But +1, let's take a screenshot of this because we haven't been positive for a very long time.
It's the two Western Sydney.
I mean, if we've got Margushing goals keeping us from conceding, we just need to get some goals on the other end.
Yeah.
It'd be nice.
Any predictions for the game for next week?
We'll probably do a podcast till then. Who the hell knows, man? It's like next Friday. It's not even this Friday. It's like literally. Well, put it this way: the team have got a week and a half to recover, train, and prepare for this game. They know what we can. We as a club, we know what we can expect from Jets, but we're playing at home again. It's a 7 p.m. kickoff if it doesn't get changed again. And in saying that, I think we can actually, pull off another win here, and depending on how the other teams fare in the meantime, because I think Sydney would be catching up on Friday night playing one of their games, and then there would still be one game ahead of them. But, you know, there's more pressure when you're, obviously, I'm just going to sound a bit, you know, cheesy or facetious, but, you know, there's pressure when you're leading as opposed to when you're chasing. And I think when you're chasing, you can easily go about your business. So I don't want to see us leading the ladder maybe just yet. I want to see us keeping around between second and third, and then slowly creeping up, and then pushing on when it actually matters, you know, towards the...
It's not the Melbourne Cup, man. We can just lead the whole
I don't think we can.
It's fine.
It's going to change every 2 days, guys. It's fine.
It's going to be like the South American qualifiers in the last game before the World Cup. Like, it was every minute it was a different... The ladder was changing. I was following that on Twitter.
I remember that.
I wasted an hour of my workday just watching that, like, just Twitter, because these guys in at the top, these guys out. That was amazing. Prediction is that we can't lose this match. They're bottom of the table. They've lost 4 games now, or 3 games, and we've won a couple games where it's whatever. We're top of the table. We've got 7 points. We can't lose.
Yeah,
we can't lose against teams like this anymore. Like we lost too many times and lost points against these sort of teams in the previous years. We need to win these games because these are the ones you have to win, and then we have to focus in on the bigger games. So simple as that.
Gotta win your home matches. Have to win your home matches.
We said it last week before the Newcastle game. We have to win it because we want to keep the momentum going, right? And these games against the weaker teams, you have to win. You can't drop points. It's just you can't pick up those points later, because then you drop points against the shit teams, then you're going to drop points against the big teams, and that's how you just slowly fall down the ladder. We have to keep the pressure on the guys just below us, I guess, and the big teams that haven't played yet. They're gonna have to catch us now. So then let's play that role. Like, yeah, we're here. Come get us. This is our year. McGowan is gonna be the first captain to hold the toilet seat.
Optimism. #optimism.
Like you did mention, it is a home game, but we can't use our memberships for this game. So make sure you're checking your email to let you know how you can redeem your tickets. You actually have to go through Ticketmaster for this one. So make sure you've got all the right details. I wouldn't want anybody showing up and not being able to get into the match. That's super important. That's Friday the 29th against Newcastle Jets. I think let's wrap it up. That's 2 games. We're going to smash it out, and you might not hear from us for another 10 days, 2 weeks, maybe, who knows. Thank you everybody for listening to this week's episode of Around the Block, the supporters podcast of Western Sydney Wanderers, on your favorite podcast app. Check us out on all our socials. Nick's probably going to be uploading a couple of AT bits, so check those out as well on our YouTube channel. I'm sure we'll link you on our Twitter, and send us any kind of feedback you've got. feedback@aroundtheblock.com.au. This has been Around the Block. I am Tatiana. Good night. Thanks, gentlemen. Bye.